Someone else wrote in and asked a question about teaching scale fingerings hands together. Good question, because it's something that we all deal with. It's every student has to learn how to do that. I would say that, first of all, it took me a long time to teach C major scale. I thought, why in the world can my students not play a C major scale accurately? I'm doing a better job now. Anyway, not an easy job. May I ask you to try this with all your students? Do not hear a scale hands together until your students have given an announcement of the scale. And they say, this is the announcement. This is the official Blickenstaff announcement. They say, I'm going to play D major. D major has two sharps. They're F sharp and C sharp. And I make them say the sharps in the order in which they appear in the key signature. In my right hand, my fourth finger is going to play on C sharp, and my left hand fourth finger will play on E. Isolating where the fourth fingers go, because if there's a problem with scale fingerings, it's the students get the fourth finger in the wrong place, okay? I'm going to play E major. E major has four sharps. They're F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. In E major, my right hand fourth finger will play on D sharp, and my left hand fourth finger will play on F sharp, and then they go. Now, that's sort of the icing on the cake, but there's a lot of information and processing that must happen until we can play really efficiently and carefully. We have 10 scales that are fingered like C major. I call those the Rule 1 scales, and they're the early sharps, and they're parallel minors. How do you play C major? The thing that helps my students the most is to notice A, that the third fingers always play together, and after the third fingers have played, something very, very important happens in the scale. So I go up and I play my third fingers together. That's great. They've got to be together. Now, what very important thing happens after the third fingers? There's an exchange of ones and twos. Now that's so important because a lot of students will put their fourth finger on the next note and then we're really off. So you stop on the third fingers and you say exchange ones and twos, and then we got our third fingers again. Now what happens after the second time that the third fingers play together? The students chant four in the right, thumbs, four in the left. In other words, the fourths are surrounding the tonic note. So we play 1, 2, 3, exchange, 1, 2, 3, 4 right, thumbs, 4 left, threes, ones and twos, 3, 4 right, thumbs, 4. You can even put that little extra bit in there so that we get that crossing over. But chanting and knowing what you want to have happen ahead of the playing of it. Don't you think that a lot of our students make mistakes because they don't think far enough ahead? They will play their third finger and they don't really know what's coming up afterwards. So the chanting and the seeing and the saying really helps. Go to threes, ones and twos, 3, 4 right, thumbs, 4 left. Okay. Really, really works. I think that a lot of our students get a little tired of saying things when they're playing, and yet that's the saving grace. If they don't say, they will make a mistake. I want to point out to you that there are a lot of other scales, there are a number of other scales, where you have threes together, 4 right, thumbs, 4 left, and threes. You can extract that and play A flat major. Isn't that interesting? Threes, 4 right, thumbs, 4 left, 3, 1, 2. So the hands are getting used to some C sharp minor. Threes and ones and threes we chant. So C major is teaching a lot of such stuff. Threes and ones and threes, threes and ones and threes. Now that works for C minor. G major, D minor, etc. 10 different scales use that. It's great. And once they get it, you know, it's almost like a miracle because things fall into shape and they've got it for the rest of their lives. do not bypass the whole business of verbalization. I just think that that is such incredible reinforcement and very, very helpful. Could we go on just a little bit and talk about the most difficult scales and their fingerings? I categorize the scales with my students into the first 4 sharps, C, G, D, A, and E. Then we do the first 4 flats, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, and then we do the ones that have 5 accidentals or more. And that's B major with 5 sharps, F sharp major, G sharp, G flat major with the 6 accidentals, and D flat major with the 5 flats. The most difficult category for students are those early flats. F, B flat, E flat, and A flat. Why is that so? Because each one of those scales has a different relationship of the right hand and left hand. But let's go after that because they're really not all that hard. It's process that will help us. F major. Now you'd think that F major would be so easy, and yet a lot of kids have trouble with that. What I have my students do is to observe me playing a slow F major scale, and I ask them if they can find any fingers that play together at the same time. Thumbs always play together at the same time, and the thirds do also, but it's the thumbs I want to focus on. And then we articulate what notes did the thumb play? Well, they played the tonic and the dominant. Let's take our thumbs and play tonic and dominant, and tonic and dominant. Okay, great. And now could we fill in the other notes? Play your thumb. Now block 2, 3, 4. Play your thumbs together. Block 2, 3. Thumbs, block, thumbs, block, thumbs, block. And you've got your F major scale, and there's just no problem. Now, one of the helpful things about pointing out the thumbs is it gives the students something to visualize when they're playing. So they look and they say, oh, I see C coming up, get my thumbs. Now I gotta get my thumbs on F. Okay, and then blocking. You've got a big group between F and C, so that obviously is where you're going to play your 2, 3, 4. And you got a little group between C and F, and that you can't use your 4s there, okay? So a student says, I'm going to play F major. F major has 1 flat, that's B flat. In my right hand, the 4th finger is going to play on B flat, and in my left hand, the 4th finger is going to play on G. There's a rule for these first 4 flats, a fingering rule, that could be stated that the right hand 4th finger will always play on B flat, and the left hand starts out 3, 2, 1, 4. The F major is the exception because its left hand is fingered like C major. Minor blip on our screen. Let's go to B flat. I joke with my students and tell them that there are a lot of students who quit piano lessons because of the B flat major scale. They just can't get it, you know. And I say, but it's so easy. I play B flat major slowly for my students and ask them what fingers are allowed to play on the black keys. And they observe that the black keys can only be played with 3s and 4s. Second question, do they ever get to play together at the same time? Do you ever play 4s together or 3s together? No. They're always against each other. So here I have 4 right, 3 in the left, 3 right, 4 in the left. They're always against each other. But the only fingers that are allowed to play black keys are 3 and 4. Great. Then I tell my students something very, very helpful. Your right hand will always be correct going up. And your left hand will always be correct going down. So just make the other hand conform to that. So what's the rule? Right hand 4th fingers on B flat. We play a 3 against that. Now look here. The right hand already has its 3rd finger aiming for E flat. What do I have to do with the left hand? I've got to play 3 and I got to play 4 against it. Here comes a 4. I play 3 against it. Here comes a 3. I play 4 against it. Coming down. The left hand's going to be okay. It's already headed for a 4 on the E flat. Put your 3 against it. And the students say, but that's so easy. And I say, you won't believe that students quit piano lessons because of B flat major, and it's so easy. Just remember, the only fingers that are allowed to play on the black keys are 3 and 4, and they never get to play together. Let's go into E flat. You state the rule. I'm going to play E flat major. It has 3 flats. You have to say the flats in the order in the key. It's B, E, A, and we're on our way to spell the word bead. The first 4 flats are B, E, A, D. Okay, so we got B flat, E flat, A flat. What's the rule? The 4th finger is always going to play on B flat. The left hand's always going to start 3, 2, 1 and put the 4th over on the 4th note. Now, that's a lot of head stuff. What's really easy for the students is to see that in E flat, you got a single black key and you got a double black key. And have them play up and down the keyboard with those black keys, playing 3s together on the single black and a pair of 3 and 4 on the double blocks. Single black, double black, 3s on the single black, 3, 4 on the double black, 3. And with that, I say, play the scale, please. That's your outline. The others are white keys. Your hand will tell you what to play. I played 1s and 2s on the whites. Here's a pair of 3 and 4. I got a pair of white keys with 1s and 2s. Yeah. So you could almost say E flat is a game of pairs because you have a pair of 3s on the, you got a pair of whites, you got a pair of blacks, you got a pair of whites, you got a pair of 3s. That's really a wonderful scale to play. And that turns out to be pretty easy. A flat is a little bit more complicated, although we've already played A flat when we played the C major scale. Now, you are wrinkling your nose and you're saying, what in the world could he mean by that? Watch this. When I get to A, I play 3s together, 4 to the right, down, 4 to the left. When I play the A flat scale on A, I play 3 together, 4 to the right. And it's just so wonderful. Yeah. I'll tell you what I do. A flat's going to be a stumbling block for a lot of students. And so I say, would you please play an A flat 5-finger pattern? They're really comfortable with that. Play an A flat chord. Break it up bottom, middle, top. Now I want you to play bottom, middle, top with a new fingering. 3s and 1s and 3s. 3s and 1s and 3s. Using that as an outline, would you please play an A flat 5-finger pattern? I start 3s and 1s and 3s, 3s and 1s and they're so used to surrounding the thumbs with their 4th finger because they did that in all the Rule 1 scale. It really is very easy for them to work into their hand. But that's the hard thing about A flat major, and it's really not hard because we've been doing that ever since we played C major. 3s and I have my students just say that, you know, leave the lesson and say 3s and 1s and 3s 200 times. 3s and that's great. And for some students, A flat major is really, really tough. But 3s and 1s and 3s, but what happens after that? 3s and 2 whites, 3s and 2 whites. And they got used to those 2 whites when they were playing E flat major. Almost immediately, right off the bat, I have my students play all 3 forms of the minor scale. Now, they can do that just 1 octave. My favorite studio routine for playing scales is to play 2s and 3s and 4s. And in major scales, you keep a very steady beat, and you play your 2, the 2s mean 2 octaves in 8th notes, 2 notes per beat. The 3s means 3 octaves and 3 notes per beat, or triplets. And the 4s are 4 octaves in 16th notes. With the more advanced students, we do our 2s twice and 3s 3 times and the 4s 4 times. Why that much of investment is to build up endurance. And it's really interesting when students are playing rather fast scales in 16ths and doing 4 octaves up and down 4 times, they are really building up some necessary endurance for passage work that goes on and on and on. And they really appreciate that and they see the value of that. I get no resistance with my students about playing scales 2 octaves twice and 3s 3 times. I think they think it's kind of a athletic drill that they're doing. And they're proud of that. and we play with the metronome, or I'm tapping the beat to be sure that they're keeping their subdivisions clear and in time. There's another wonderful little scale routine that I use. This has nothing to do with fingerings, but I recommend this very highly. I call this with my students playing scales in 4-beat segments. And what they do is play one segment, 4 beats, are quarter notes. The next one's 8th notes, and the third segment is in 16ths. And by that time, they've covered a 4-octave range. When I have my students practice minor scales in 2s and 3s and 4s, they play the 2s in natural minor. They play the 3s in harmonic minor. And the 4s in melodic minor. And then that's good for them. But get them going all over the, okay. So I think that covered the question about how scale fingerings and how to get your students. To my way of thinking, it is absolutely necessary that students announce their scales. A lot of students approach a scale with a lot of cloudy stuff going on in their mind and their hand. They hardly know what to do. And what happens when they announce is that the clouds are wiped away. I know what my flats or my sharps are. I know where my 4th finger is going to go. It's just so helpful as far as a facilitator of accuracy.